From Transformers Legacy United, as well as Generation Selects, I got the GoBots 3-pack off the Big Bad Toy Store. This includes Pathfinder, Smallfoot, and Treads. So 2 Guardians, those were the good guys, and 1 Renegade, that was the bad guys. If you don't know who the GoBots were, they were the other Transforming line from the 80s, and quite frankly, they were great. The toys were all unbelievably solid. The show, it was a bit cheesy, and ultimately the GoBots wound up being bought by Hasbro, so we're finally getting some of the characters back. So we have Cosmos turned into Pathfinder, Gears turned into Smallfoot, and Warpath turned into Treads. Let's actually open these guys up because this has been one of my most anticipated 3-packs of the entire year. This is how the 3 look straight out of the box, but let's be fair, that's not fully correct. Let's go ahead and dip into accessories so that we can give Smallfoot her chest. There we go, we just slide that on top. Boop. And now, Smallfoot's complete. We of course have Pathfinder and Treads, just missing their guns. But I just want to say, these 3 look so good. I love this. One of my biggest regrets, is that I sold my Road Ranger, because I never thought they would do more GoBots. I need to go back and get him. I, of course, want to find that Velocitron Crasher, but of course, that figure I don't think actually exists. I think there's a better chance that I could find Bigfoot at Walmart than actually find that figure. It's so cool that we're getting GoBots back. I just hate that it's kind of hard to actually get the GoBots that have come back. But let's take a look at all these figures. As you can see, they're all basically straight repaints except for Smallfoot. Smallfoot did get a new head. But why don't we start with Treads, because he's the oldest figure here, then we'll go into Pathfinder, and then wrap it up with Smallfoot. Treads is a straight repaint of Kingdom Warpath, only now he's green instead of red. I'll be honest, I think the mold looks better now. I know that this mold is very accurate to G1 Warpath. Truth be told, my Warpath is Generations Warpath. I didn't like that figure as a Warpath. But here, as a new character, I love the personality it has. You have a ball joint in the head, a universal as the shoulder. You have a hinge for the elbow, as well as a good swivel. You have a waist swivel, that's a wrist swivel. Here's the waist swivel. As you can see, it is a bit stiff on mine, but it's still there. Universal at the hip. A good single jointed knee, as well as an upper leg cut. And I always loved this. You actually have a pivot for the ankle down here, though it's very easy to mistransform him if you use it. I also love that he has a very tiny Decepticon logo right there. I don't know. I kind of wish that they actually used the Renegade symbol, but at the same time, I get it. These are not proper GoBots. They are not proper Guardians and Renegades. They are having to work within the confines of Transformers. It would have been nice, but at the end of the day, I'm still pretty happy with how Treads is looking. The red of the original Warpath really did drown out a lot of the sculpted details of this mold, but now that it's in this darker green, it really pops just how many little hatches and nooks and crannies are within the tank. I especially love the head sculpt. It looks so menacing despite how quiet it is. In terms of accessories, Treads comes with a shield, very similar to Warpath. It's for the transformation. You can put it basically anywhere where there's a port. You could put it here. In all honesty, I think I'm going to put mine on the shoulder, like maybe right here. Just give a little bit of asymmetry. That's looking pretty good. I think that Treads is kind of the weakest figure here, which is crazy because he's a great figure. But I do think that his age is keeping him from being quite as impressive as the other 2 molds. But at the same time, when you're still an A+ and you're the worst out of the 3, I think that's saying more about the other 2 than it's saying about you. This is my first time messing with the Cosmos mold, and I'll say it. It's a very good mold. I'm kind of sad that I never actually found Cosmos, but at the same time, my Cosmos is Generations Thrilling 30 Cosmos. So kind of like Warpath, I'm kind of happy that I get to experience this as just a new character. I love the proportions here. Such a good, chunky little boy. I say a boy. I'm pretty sure Pathfinder was a woman, wasn't she? I forget. But you have a ball joint at the head. You have not a ball joint. Again, a universal at the shoulder. You have a hinge and a pin socket joint to actually give you the elbow. It goes slightly below 90 just because of the sculpted detail of the arm. You have nothing in the wrist save for in and out. Down here in the waist, you do have a waist swivel. You have a universal in the hip, and the armor does get out of the way, which is great. You have an upper leg cut, a good single jointed knee, and then down below you once again have side to side and a little bit of back and forth in the ankle. That's great. Articulation here is really, really solid. It's a thing where you would look at this figure and assume it would be a brick, but no, there's more joints here than you would think. I will say this, I think Pathfinder looks too much like Cosmos in the head. At least with Treads, the color was different and gave the figure a new personality. Here, it's a yellow face, a yellow mouth plate, and the red helmet. That's just Cosmos' head. Maybe if they gave a black helmet and then made the gas mask black too? I don't know. Pathfinder isn't exactly the most well-remembered of GoBots. I think that there were ways to make her a little bit more unique, though. In any case, I still love this head sculpt. It still works for Pathfinder, don't get me wrong, but it very clearly was Cosmos first and foremost. In terms of accessories, I will point this out. A really fun part of the design is that you do have triple barrel guns on the hands. Now, of course, that's just because that's where Cosmos had their guns, but the great part about this being a GoBot mold is the GoBots usually didn't have guns. They shot lasers out of their hands, meaning that, well, Pathfinder's still able to do that. The only accessory they come with is this. Now, with Cosmos, it would have been a gun that could also be a checkered flag to announce the race finishing. Here, it is the actual flag of the GoBots, which I'm pretty sure in the cartoon was also the flag of Gobatron. It is very hard to get this into Cosmos' hand, but once it's in there well. I love this. It's a great little reuse of the flag. I really enjoy it being here because, hey, it's goofy, it's cartoony, it fits the GoBots perfectly. That just leaves Smallfoot, and I could understand if you're not big on Smallfoot's colors. It's basically just gears, but where there's orange here, there was blue on gears. I love this because I love Smallfoot. I've had the GoBot Smallfoot for a very long time. Smallfoot is a very cool character, and it's also like a very weird thing that you can never argue. Like, GoBots did diversity of cast way better than Transformers did. In G1, we had 8 women? And that's including a lot of one-episode characters. Meanwhile, in the GoBots, it's like half the cast were women, and it's like it was great. Smallfoot here was one of the most important ones. I think she had the most appearances outside of any of the main 3 GoBots. They've captured her design and her color scheme very, very well. I especially love the pink and yellow up in the head. Overall, though, the best part about this figure is just the fact that it's this mold again. You have a great ball joint in the head. You get so much range out of such a weird head design. You have a universal up here in the shoulder, as well as a butterfly joint. You have an upper arm rotation, a double jointed elbow, a waist swivel. You have another waist swivel, that's the wrist swivel. I've done that a few times this video, my apologies, guys. A universal at the hip, a upper leg cut, a double jointed knee, and you can go full tilt at the ankle. This is one of the most well-articulated deluxes ever. It is insane the poses you can get with this figure, and it was not all that convincing when it was Gears, but as Smallfoot, absolutely Smallfoot could be a gymnast, why not? I feel like that's a strength that all 3 of these have. The GoBots are inherently sillier, they're goofier characters. Whereas Warpath, Cosmos, and Gears don't seem like the most fun-loving of characters. I say that, Cosmos can rock out. When you got these 3, of course they'd be in dumb poses together. It doesn't even matter that they're enemies. They would probably go on a picnic together if they could. It's like, of course they would do yoga together. Of course they would sit together and tell scary stories. Of course they would do karate together. Bringing it back around to Smallfoot, I really do love the head sculpt. I think it's the greatest strength of this figure. It gives her such a unique energy, and I love her little eye visor. Alongside that, if you pop open the chest, you still have all the detail that was there with Gears. I will say, unfortunately on mine, there was a little bit of mold flash. That's not red paint on the silver, that's really red bits of plastic that's jutting out. Smallfoot would have come with one accessory, that being Gears' gun. Now, the gun I thought was fine on Gears. On Smallfoot, I'm not really feeling it. The Guardians didn't use guns. Nor did the Renegades, come to think of it, but the Guardians definitely didn't use guns. I honestly think I might give this gun over to Treads. In case you couldn't tell, I really love all three of these figures. I think their robot modes are incredible, and I love the fact that they're just GoBots. They're fun colors and goofy characters. Now, why don't we actually take a look at transformations and vehicle modes? It was just a happy coincidence that these GoBots were turned into mini-bots all the way back in the early 2000s. Because it just so happens that some of the best transformations to come out of Transformers in the past 10 years have been the Generations mini-bots of the recent few lines. You get 3 amazing transformations here that are all doing completely different things. We'll go over them from Treads to Smallfoot to Pathfinder, because Pathfinder was the first time I ever messed with that transformation. Treads first, and this is a great little tank mode. There is some finickiness to it, especially with how the back comes together, but the tank looks great, solid from every single angle. The shield actually winds up down here. If you ever lose the shield, it just means that the underside of the tank isn't going to be as complete. Not a big deal. Alongside that, you have a turret that goes up and down, as well as side to side. Can you do the full 180? You can go all the way around. Awesome. So, you get a great little tank. Warpath was iconic, don't get me wrong, the red looks good on a tank, but this is just an actual pretty solid take on a World War II era tank. Smallfoot, just like Gears before her, has an amazing transformation. One of my favorite transformations I've ever seen. Unfortunately, here you can see there's a bit of a mismatch between painted orange and plastic orange, but I still really like this truck. I'll be honest, I know this might not be a popular opinion. I like this mold better as Smallfoot than I do as Gears. I even like the little Autobot logo here. You can see there's like a very weird issue with the paint where I just have tiny little snippets that have been taken off. Don't really know what happened there. But in any case, it's a fun transformation, a great truck. It's one of the best molds I've seen in years. And it helps that, hey, it's one of my favorite GoBots now. What am I going to complain about? And finally, you have Pathfinder in this UFO mode. Now, of course, this is just the Cosmos alternate mode, but to be fair, the original Pathfinder was also a flying saucer, so this still works. My favorite thing about this really is just the transformation. You think it would be really simple, but it's not. There's so many little spins and turns throughout the entire thing. You can see, basically, this is the torso. Everything else comes down here and wraps around itself. Just like Smallfoot, it's a simple transformation, but a clever one, and it gives you a really nice alternate mode. Plus, let me do this. There we go. Oh, come on, Cosmos. Come on, it is kind of hard to wrestle the head out sometimes. Come on. There we go. If you really want, you can have Pathfinder come up and say hello. I really don't know how many more ways there are to say that I love this 3-pack. It's 3 very good repaints using incredible molds. It's a good value for money. And for a lot of people, this might be the easiest way to ever get that Cosmos mold. I can't recommend it enough if you're a GoBots fan, if you just want to expand your generation shelf, or if this might be the best way to get some of these figures. They are incredible. I love all 3 of them. Smallfoot, Treads, and Pathfinder are all in serious contention for Figure of the Year for me. I am not even joking. It's kind of crazy to think that I got these guys the same day as Sentinel Prime. They're not quite as good as Sentinel, but they are very close.